Good morning, everyone. I wanted to walk through with you the final assessment here so that it's very clear to you what I expect, and also to give you an opportunity to be reminded of some things that we learned quite a while ago. So to begin with, your final assessment is worth 20 marks in total. It turns out that there are 6 questions, and they have a combined worth of 20 marks. All work must be presented in a clear, organized, and easy to follow manner. Mathematics is a very sequential study. It's a very sequential process. So when you do math, you have to present your work as a particular sequence. If you're jumping all over the place, that is not good math. Your work must be submitted by 3:15 to me on Friday, June 19th. Please make sure that your photos or your scans are clear and readable. If you're having some technical difficulties, get a hold of me and we can work something out. Late submissions will not be accepted, and I'm sticking to this. You have approximately 2 weeks in total since you've received this assignment that you can work on it to get it ready for submission on the 19th. I know that some of you have jobs, you all have other courses, you all have personal lives, and you have family as well. But part of being a student, particularly a grade 12 student in your second semester, thinking about going off for most of you to post-secondary or to something else next year, part of that is learning how to organize things. If you leave this until the Wednesday before the Friday that it's due, then you probably will not get it done on time. And even if you do, you probably will not get it done well. So be responsible here. This is my last chance as a teacher to try to impress on you the idea of taking some pride in what you do, getting things organized, doing things well. I think these are really important things in life. Number 1 takes us way back to the beginning. The very first thing that we learned in chapter 1 was about transformations. So all of you were given a graph of a function, and you were asked to identify values of the parameters a, b, h, and k for a new function. Now this new function is g of x, and g of x is negative 2 multiplied by f of 1/3 x minus 6, then minus 4. By the way, all of the questions are different. You guys know this already. So what you have to do for the first part here for 1 mark is use that statement, that g of x equals statement, and write down what a equals, b equals, h equals, and k equals. You're also going to be expected to describe how each of these parameters changes the graph of the original function. And what I'm looking for here is Math 30 level language. I don't want to see words like squeeze. I want to see stretch. Stretch is the word that we use. I don't want to see words like flip. Reflect is a word we use. And when you start talking about reflections, if there are reflections, and I'm not going to say whether there are or not, but if there are reflections, I don't think you should just say there's a horizontal reflection. If there's a horizontal reflection, then what you should be saying is there's a horizontal reflection across the y-axis. You want to ramp up your language and have it at a level of sophistication that says, I took Math 30-1. You're also asked to determine the domain and range of the transform function and clearly explain how you arrived at your answer. You do not have to write an essay, but I want a clear explanation. If you're going to say the new domain is negative 12 to 4, then I need to know how you got those two numbers. And by the way, when you write out the domain and range, you wouldn't write out the words negative 12 to 4. You would use, again, Math 30 level notation. I left the next page blank because you are probably going to need more room than the room that's on the first page where the question is. Number 2 gives you a graph of a polynomial function, and you are given the zeros or x-intercepts Again, all of the questions are a little bit different, but this particular graph has an x-intercept of -5, it has an x-intercept of -1, and it has another x-intercept of 3. And then this graph happens to pass through 2, -26. You're asked to do two things. What is the equation of the polynomial function written in factored form? Now, I want an explanation of how you're arriving at the factors. If you just write out the equation and you happen to be right, you are not going to get 4 marks. You'd be lucky if you get 2. I'm looking at an explanation here of how you are getting those factors. You need to explain how you get the factors, and then any other numbers that are involved in the equation, you can't just pull out of thin air. You have to show how you arrive at them. Then what you're going to do is use your equation to determine the exact value of the y-intercept. Throughout this entire assignment, anytime you see exact value, all I'm getting at is I do not want decimals. I want either radicals or fractions. And with question 2, just like with question 1, I've given you a second page that's blank. Of course, you can just do this on lined paper if you like. Number 3 takes us to some more recent material. You're given 3 functions, and you are asked to determine g of f of h of pi over 3. So I don't want to do this question for you, but basically you're going to have to figure out what function pi over 3 goes into first, then take the output of that and put it into the next function, then put the output into the next function, then put the output into the final of the 4 functions to get an answer. So this part here that says showing all steps and using exact values in all steps is very important. I am trying to evaluate you as a Math 30-1 student. In terms of trigonometry, a grade 8 student can plug numbers into their calculator and write the decimals down. There's something bigger going on here that's more appropriate to a 30-1 level, and it's what I'm looking for when I mark this. Number 4 also is a recent idea, something we've learned in just the past couple of weeks. This says that m of n of some number a gives you 4.38. So unlike question 3, where in question 3 you put pi over 3 into a function and then proceed from there, here a, which we don't know, is the thing that goes into the function. And what eventually comes out of the whole composition is the number 4.38. So you're going to have to communicate to me what you're doing with that 4.38 to eventually get the value of a. You need to show all steps in your work, but you are allowed to work in decimal form as long as you are showing how you are getting those decimal numbers. Number 5 takes us back to trigonometry. Specifically, we are talking about applying in question 5 the arc length formula. And the arc length formula is on your formula sheet. It says theta equals a over r. I will remind you that that formula only works in radians. So the angle in that formula that's on your formula sheet that you're going to use must be in radians. Given that the angle in this diagram is 70 degrees, you're going to have to convert that to radians. This is a written response assessment. You cannot just convert it on your calculator. I need to see how you are converting 70 degrees into a particular value in radians. So what this question says is that Peppermint Patty walks along the curve from A to B, and Charlie Brown walks along the curve from C to D, and you're told that Charlie Brown in this particular question walks 3.2 meters further than Peppermint Patty. From that, you have to figure out the width of that white border, which is the sidewalk that they are walking along the edges of. So remember, you're going to use the formula for arc length, which is theta equals arc length over radius, but you must be in radians. And you must show all of your work here. The final question deals with permutations. It says Alice finds the total number of arrangements of all of the letters of the word buzzkills, and Bob finds the total number of different arrangements of all of the letters of the word farmhouse. And it turns out that there are more arrangements of all of the letters of the word farmhouse than there are of all of the letters of the word buzzkills. And you will not learn why that is the case until Wednesday's lesson. So if you're watching this video on Tuesday, which is when I'm going to publish it, then the video lesson in this course on Wednesday, the next day, will be explaining why there are fewer arrangements when you arrange the letters of the word buzzkills. So you're going to have to determine the number of different arrangements of all of the letters of the word farmhouse. You're also going to have to determine the total number of arrangements of all of the letters of the word buzzkills, and then you will have to use that to find out how many more arrangements Bob will find. All right, I hope that helps. I hope it helps give you an idea of what I expect from you, and I also hope it helps in terms of bringing your memory back of different things that we studied, because some of the stuff that this assessment covers was studied a long time ago. Have a great rest of the day. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.